I almost feel like the statement, why so serious, is very apt for this movie.
Knock, knock.
Who's there? Oh, Mark, you got the joke wrong. No, it's knock, knock. Who's there? The police. Your son's dead. He died in a drunk driving accident. Anyway. Yeah.
I'm sorry, that just makes me sad.
What? The laugh or the joke? You know, that's not the... we've been discussing this a little bit outside the car.
I will admit that this was
that's
a weird movie.
Yeah, you liked it more than I did. Now I
think that's because at a certain point I started to notice.
You embraced it a bit.
Well,
you
a little bit.
Embraced the badness.
But like once he goes fucking all the way,
the last quarter of the film,
it becomes like fun in a way that is kind of detached, because, and I'm trying to be very careful with language here, because I don't want it to come off as it's fun because he's going out and killing people.
Well, you know what? I have heard some reviews compare kind of like to Taxi Driver a little bit, and I can see some of the parallels to that just a little bit.
I haven't seen Taxi Driver.
It's about it's Robert De Niro goes crazy, becomes a vigilante, and kills people. So there's some, he's a taxi driver as he is, and bum on the street. He's basically like a low-level bum or whatever.
I just want to say, the 70s seemed like a great era for vigilantes.
We were having a discussion. You think it's the 70s. I think it's more closer to the 60s myself. I mean, that's right. You got your phone. You can look it up.
Also, I'm the only one of us that wore any paraphernalia.
You know what? And it occurred to me to do it after the fact. I'm like, shit, you should have gotten my Batman shirt. It's basically the origin of the Joker. There's little more I can say about that.
Well, okay. Here's the thing.
Let me rephrase that.
Possible.
A origin for the Joker, possibly. So, did they give a time stamp at all, or a era?
I'm trying to look it up.
But yeah, Arthur Fleck, Joaquin Phoenix.
So, we're both kind of right.
Oh. I see 1981 there?
Yes.
Really?
And 1981 is basically the late 70s. It's kind of annoying to think of it that way, but if you look at it, a lot of the stuff from the 70s is still kind of carrying over.
A little bit.
And we're just starting to get some of the big problems they were having in the 80s cropping up.
Mm-hmm.
Like the subway cars being full of graffiti, stuff like that.
Garbage piling in the streets, all that.
So that was just starting to pick up.
And there,
also that does mean that theoretically, this could still work as a modern day Batman Joker, because
you'd have to age Joaquin Phoenix's character up.
Well, here's an example.
Mm-hmm.
Is one of our friends, he is only in his 40s.
Mm-hmm.
He was born in 78.
Yeah.
So that makes it entirely possible that, say, the Joker, they didn't really give an age for him.
No.
I'm going to say 20s.
Oh, God, no. Like, you can easily tell that.
Oh, A Very Hard Life and stuff like that.
Even on A Hard Life, I'd still go 30s. I doubt you're... Like, how old... That's the question. How old is Joaquin Phoenix? That's a good question to go by. Or a good comparison to go by.
Not always.
Because even with A Hard Life, I'd still put him at least in his 30s. I wouldn't go so far as say, like, late 40s, but at his oldest, I'd say early 40s, because his mom was clearly in her late 50s, maybe early 60s.
He's 44.
Yeah, so somewhere in his 30s is where I'd probably put him. Myself, anyway.
I don't know.
Because he's not, even at Hard Living, he's not a guy who could pull out 20. He does not look like a guy, even at Hard Living, he does not look like a 20 to me. It's somewhere in the 20s.
I don't know. I've seen some people, well, to be fair, this is coming from Mr. fucking Fountain of Youth over here.
Oh, blow me.
Looks almost the same since he was in high school.
Technically middle school, but who's counting? I mean, just because I am,
Anyway.
I am your immortality.
So
I'm a Highlander.
I think it's entirely possible Joker's maybe in his mid to late 20s.
If we were going to go 20s, I'd definitely move to the late 20s stage. Because there's no way. I'm sorry, I'd be hard pressed even if I were to accept the 20s for mid 20s. I'd at least go late 20s.
Here's the thing. 1, he's smoking like a bastard.
True.
2, he's on a lot of medication.
True.
3, he has a very hard life.
Yeah.
4, he lives in the slums. A lot of that stuff will age you.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just
make
saying.
it to where you're in your 30s, but you look like you're in your 60s.
I'm not arguing that, but I'm just saying that I still don't buy he'd be in this 20. I have to at least go with the 30s. Plus, if Joaquin Phoenix is only 44, even if we aged him all the way up to his real age, he's 44. So, but yeah.
But I don't get the impression.
No, I don't get the impression he's
that
that old. No, even I don't do it. But I still go early, mid 30s.
And look, Tom Cruise has been playing a guy who's in his 30s for the past 20 plus years.
He's only now starting to look like his age a little bit. He's like 55. But I digress. Like I said, you enjoyed it more than I did. Some of my biggest problems I had, first off, Joaquin Phoenix is fantastic in this film. If there's any if he gets an Oscar nomination for lead actor, I would accept that.
I hope he does.
Yeah, I would accept that, no problem.
He does a really good job.
It is shot well. It is paced well. There are twists and turns. In the last quarter of the film, I don't want to say it's probably like the last, because the film's like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I want to say it's like the last 30 minutes of the film are great. But the problem for me stems from a few points of, and this is one of the big ones, it's not a very fun, it's not a, the Joker is supposed to be a character with life. And I get it, we're dealing with the origins of the Joker, at least in this context. But he's a character you're supposed to enjoy watching and have at least some level of fun. And you should feel wrong for laughing at while that's happening. But at the same time, you should still kind of enjoy yourself.
To address that, the problem is we're not watching the Joker.
That's the problem.
3/4 of the movie.
No, that's the problem.
We're watching someone else.
We're watching Arthur Fleck.
And he's not the Joker until that last fourth.
Yeah.
So I think it does a really good job there. And it's supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's not
it's supposed to be hard.
I'll say this. It's not an easy sit. Like, I have tempted to get up at least once or twice, just be like, okay, I need a moment.
He is supposed to be
the
opposite of Batman.
No, I understand that completely. We do see young Bruce, and yes, that happens.
I'm sorry. There's one point when we see him where there's like a pole.
Oh, yeah,
or something like that in the garden. He jumps on it, slides down, and immediately, first thought through my mind is, okay, they're making a reference to Adam West Batman.
Possibly. Didn't even occur to me at that point.
Yeah.
But another thing is, it's not a happy film. That's even near the end. I mean, you start to get into some of the fun of the Joker, what fun is there with the character in that final act. But before that, it's not a happy film. It's a pretty depressing, slightly nihilistic film, and that's fine. But it makes it hard to engage with the character.
Well, I don't think fully that makes it hard to engage with character, but a couple things. One, I think there are some points that, depending on who you are, and everything else like that, you might find some of it relatable, which makes it all the more unsettling.
Yeah, I think that's the problem.
Because I think that was the other thing they were going for is...
It's a very real feeling movie at points.
They don't want you to feel overly connected to this character.
you don't want to sympathize with this person.
He is a bad guy.
They even imply, they never say what he actually did or what he actually has, but he was in the hospital for many years prior to the beginning of the
he
film.
was in a mental
institution for many years prior to this, to the point where he's not supposed to have a gun. That's how messed up in the head he apparently is.
Yeah.
I think, though, that's another problem I have with it, too, is that, and again, I'm comparing it to other origins, so this is just another origin. But generally speaking, yes, it was one bad day that ultimately turned him into the Joker. But before that, he's just a guy who's had a lot of shit, bad luck, everything along his life. Life just craps on constantly. But it's still more supposed to be like a cautionary tale of how this could happen to anyone. How generally it could happen to still a relatively nice guy or a normal guy whose just life has just been beaten and pulping. Instead, we have a guy who's already halfway to being the Joker as it is.
Yeah.
And that I think is a bit more. It's less interesting to me, honestly. I'd rather see the guy who's generally the normal guy who all this crap happens to finally, break under all the strain.
I don't think that would be as believable. That is the kind of thing of it would be so easy and quick to kind of tip over. Well, not to mention the fact that they would have to fill in a lot more of the movie.
Yeah.
In that case.
And to be fair, from your point, you mentioned realism, or it's a bit more of a, I guess, real world take on it, I suppose, if you want to go there. There's an ugly slice of life to this movie, I guess is a good way to put it.
Well, the other thing is, as I said, they don't want it to be too relatable because the movie's not, and this is getting into some of the controversy and stuff around the movie and concerns.
It's not a political movie.
No, I don't mean that.
Oh, that one. All right.
What I'm saying is, it's the kind of thing where there's some controversy and stuff like that around it, where people are looking at this and being like, "Hey, we don't want this to inspire people to go out there and do this kind of stuff."
Oh yeah,
because the problem is, this is that kind of movie that would, in a lot of cases,
especially with the way it ends.
Well, getting into that more specifically, like you look at something like John Wick. Mm-hmm. John Wick automatically just comes off as very campy, not really realistic,
comparatively,
stuff like that.
yeah.
So there's that disconnect.
Yeah,
there. It's like watching Captain America throw his shield and beat the crap out of a bunch of people. Most people aren't going to look at Captain America and be like, "Oh, I can do that." Whereas the Joker, part of the problem that has always been there is
it could
depending on how you portray him, and more specifically, this movie and how the movie is stylized, you can get a lot of people who will sit there and be like, "Oh, well, I can do that." And I feel as though that's why they included a lot more of that uncomfortable build-up and everything else like that, is because they want to really drive the point home. And this is not normal. Yeah, and to your point too, you're right. While I would have preferred to see the opposite side of that, where it's the normal guy going that does work more. That does work better on a comic book page than in this style of movie, because it is more realistic that someone who's already unhinged would just go the further step versus someone who's still mostly well adjusted slowly be just driven to the breaking point. So you're right. That is a bit more realistic. Even in the comic book versions, we've seen roughly of a similar story to this. You can tell through the comic book, his life was already shit beforehand. But his life was shit. But there was just one really shitty day. And that's the thing, though. Like that's what I'm saying. Is like, no matter what, is the guy, his life, whatever version you're looking at, the guy's life is just shit life. But and a lot of the versions you see, he's still not a bad person. It's just there was that one bad day, and usually a vat of chemicals, that just pushed him over the edge. Obviously, we weren't going to go that route in this. Well, that's the thing is, with this, it feels fairly close, I want to say, to the comic story. A little bit. It's not the same style. Yeah. But the story, like, it feels a bit like based off the One Bad Day storyline, which is the Killing Joke, basically.
It feels a bit closer to that. But all the actors are great, and like I said, Joaquin Phoenix. Zazie Beetz is really good when she's in the film. She's not in it a lot, but the things involving her are kind of pivotal to the really bad day.
I have to say, Thomas Wayne.
Oh, I know that guy, too.
I kept sitting there thinking it was, what's his name? He plays Trump all the time.
Oh, Alec Baldwin?
Yeah, I thought it was Alec
Here's
Baldwin.
the thing. He was
and I'm like, wait.
Here's the thing. He was.
Oh, that's not
He was
him.
actually supposed to play that character. He was actually originally supposed to be Alec Baldwin.
Like, I could see it being Alec Baldwin.
You could see it,
but it's the kind of thing where this isn't our, because part of the problem is Batman, and by extension most of Gotham, and other people of Gotham, and the Joker, and Penguin, and others, have very different views of what Thomas Wayne was like, to where in some comics, Thomas Wayne is a terrible person. In others, you see him like, oh, he was running this hospital by himself and helping all the poor he could. And it's like, oh, this one, we don't get, Thomas Wayne sitting there handing out candy to poor people and trying to help.
At the same time, though, we get
these poor people are clowns.
See, I don't think but I wouldn't call him a complete ass either. Or maybe, okay, he's not the worst person in the world. He's not necessarily a great guy, but at the same time, yeah, he's a bit of a dick.
I don't know, man. I think he was pretty bad.
What did we, besides calling clowns, what else did he do that was...
It was like his general attitude and demeanor a lot of the time towards people. Because we see at least one or two interviews with him, and like a couple other little things here and there where it is just very... He comes off as a prick.
I don't know.
Like, he does not come off as a good person at all. And that, I think, kind of feeds into one of the things in this movie, which I won't spoil too much, but the whole movie, and this isn't just one or two characters, but there are several things throughout the movie where people will say something and you're not sure whose narrative to trust. Like, you'll get in, like, say, the first half of the movie, two characters, one saying one thing, the other saying something else.
Yeah.
And you don't know who to trust there. And then another half of the movie,
something
two
else.
Different characters, different topic, but both saying different things, and you're like,
the film is I don't
know who to trust there.
You can interpret the film in several different ways depending on how you're viewing certain scenes. It has a level of ambiguity to it that you can interpret, like, I'm not going to say what the ending is, but you can interpret the ending one way. And we had a conversation this in the theater. One way, or you could interpret it the other way, because there are hints throughout the entire film that could lead to one answer or the other, or both answers. It is kind of, without spoiling it, it reminds me a little bit, even though I'm kind of a bit more on your side on what the ending actually is, of, you ever see American Psycho with Christian Bale?
No, but I know of it.
Okay, if you know what the ending to that is, it's kind of got a feel to that, where it could be that kind of ending, but it could be actually what you're seeing. And there goes the light. Hold on, where are my keys? Ultimately, though, just to wrap it up, because we're running out of time.
In the dark. There we go.
Running out of time, go over trailers, even though you weren't available for them. Final thoughts?
I really enjoyed it. I think it's worth seeing. Definitely not a kid's movie.
No.
But
no,
I think it is very
R-rated.
interesting. One of my concerns that I do have that I would just like throw out there beforehand is there is a whole point in the movie where the Joker kind of becomes this symbol of fighting back against rich people and the overly wealthy and overly privileged who mistreat basically the downtrodden. And one of the things that kind of came to mind is the clown mask going to start to replace the Guy Fawkes mask?
I don't know. I don't think it will. It might be like a brief zeitgeist thing for a while, but I think it'll eventually fade away. Well, what difference is Guy Fawkes mask is based off an actual historical figure who stood for something. The Joker is just...
No, they're using the one.
I know they are,
from
but
V for
it's
Vendetta.
still based off something that actually existed, whereas the Joker... Oh, anyway. What do we get here? I'm blanking here. Oh, Zombieland 2, we had a new trailer for that. I'm looking forward to that. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. That's my problem. Yeah. We had...
I can't read so...
Yeah, The Gentleman. I've seen that trailer. It's a Guy Ritchie movie. It's got Charlie Hunnam, Hugh Grant, Colin Farrell, Matthew McConaughey.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, you'd have to see trailer. It's a good trailer. New trailer for The King's Men, the prequel to The Kingsman.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, sign me up. Terminator Dark Fate looks entertaining. What was that's an interesting one. Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler going back into the more dramatic range.
So where did he vacation this time?
It looks like New York.
Oh, cool.
So he's, it looks like he's actually trying for a change. We'll see if he is or not.
So he wanted to go to get some good New York cheesecake.
Maybe. Or pizza. You and your Chicago deep dish. It's perfectly fine. I'm not against it at all, honestly. Just Mercy, which is based off a true story. Michael B. Jordan is a lawyer.